Welcome to Jumpstart, a place to have conversation with entrepreneurs.
Mumbai, the city of dreams.
Hello guys, welcome to Jumpstart Season 1 Mumbai. My name is Rashika and Jumpstart is here to inspire. We are back with another guest today. Today's guest is here to empower, loves to trigger her mind on stereotyping thoughts and makes you think about those too. So come, let's find out who it is. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Jumpstart Season 1 Mumbai. Our today's guest is Namita Shah. She is the co-founder of Presolve 360. It's an online dispute resolution platform. So come, let's talk to her and know a little more about what exactly is this platform and how can it help us. Hi Namita, welcome
Hi.
to Jumpstart Season 1.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being a part of this session. It is a pleasure to be here to have this conversation.
Likewise, I'm really excited to talk a little bit more about my journey.
Great. So, Namita, today's session is called How Women Are Transforming India in the Legal Tech Space.
Okay.
So, we're going to tap into your mind and we're going to try and understand how do you come up with such interesting solutions and thoughts.
I look forward to it.
Great. So, Namita, my first question to you is tell us a little bit about legal tech space, about the mixture of legal and technology.
Very interestingly, if you would have asked me this some years ago, law and technology were often not even used in the same sentence. And I think it's pretty much status quo. But then what happened is COVID, where everyone was forced to move online. So was the legal sector.
Right.
And there started an inevitable movement in the legal ecosystem to move online as well.
Okay.
And in a way of speaking, it is nothing different from all other sectors that we look at. So it is nothing different from, let's say, what fintech was to finance or edtech is to education. It's just similar, where legal tech is nothing but using technology in legal aspects. To put it simply, that's all it is. Although it was never looked at it like that before, now they do belong in the same sentence.
Right.
And legal tech is just that. It is using the legal ecosystem by infusing it with technology so it becomes more accessible, more affordable, more convenient, and in a way of speaking, more seamless.
Got it. It's actually true, right? I don't think anyone before thought that they could take technology to legal. I don't think that was something very common as a thought, right?
Actually, it's very interesting because if you talk about the Indian judicial space as well, this actually was happening even before.
Okay.
Just to give you an example, there is something known as the eCourts project that has been in India since a while now.
Okay.
Also, I do agree that a lot more work needs to be done and it is very, very nascent. But these concepts of using technology did exist even before. It's just that it's more prominent now and people did not look at it that way.
Alright.
But to give you an example, earlier legal documents used to be handwritten or typewritten.
Right.
Today there is use of, let's say, documents like Microsoft Word, etc.,
Correct.
which has certain automated technologies like dictation, all of those aspects. All that is nothing but use of technology in law. It's just that, when it comes to legal tech, oftentimes there is a lot of hindrance or there's a lot of resistance.
Correct.
But in fact, technology has always been used, just in different forms, and now it's being used in more prominent ways. But it wasn't that it was not used. Just to give you an example, all case laws. Today we can search, analyze, and then there are tools that are even, giving certain predictions based on how case laws are being established in the country. All that is nothing but use of technology and law, which has been happening since a while now.
Right.
So it's not very novel. Of course, how you use it to accelerate the entire legal ecosystem, that has picked up pace. So
Correct.
that is what is different today as compared to a few years ago.
So Namita, tell me something. Is like especially in India, I think you can correct me if I'm wrong. All these documentation are centralized, right? So is that a problem in this space?
Okay, let me put it this way, that which industry in India today you think is centralized? Is education really centralized? Right in Bombay itself, I can show you at least 8 to 9 different curriculums, none of which are centrally similar across even the state, forget the country. Similarly, if you look at banks, of course, there are basic outlining principles that are common, but are 2 credit cards, for example, really centralized or similar? Or documentation of that, is it really centralized or similar? So similarly, even in this space, of course, that there is no centralized repository, but that is what it is even otherwise.
Right.
So why, identify and pinpoint and say that, oh, this is not centralized? I do agree that here every court gives their own judgments, and then as it moves to higher courts, there are different outcomes as well in similar situations. But then that's also what progress means, right? You have to question what was happening before and then look at newer and better resolutions and newer and better case laws as well. Yes, there isn't a, so to say, centralized repository, but now that is being built as we speak. It is becoming better as we speak, just like in other industries. For example, today all case laws are all published virtually. There is a database. That's not available for, let's say, a decade ago old case laws, but at least in the past few years, there is a centralized repository. Judgments may differ,
Right.
because that is, specific to each judge and court.
Correct.
But we are trying to move towards a more centralized space. But then also, no 2 disputes or no 2 legal issues will be exactly same.
Correct.
So how do you only have one centralized repository?
Okay. Got it. So it is the nature of the industry also is why there's this complication, right?
One of the many reasons, but yes.
So Namita, understanding this space, now let's try and understand about ODR, that is the online dispute resolution on which the platform is created. Tell us about what is ODR and why is the necessity today?
Sure. So let me put it this way. We are in a country that is the world's most litigious country. India is the world's most litigious country. Today, when any legal issue happens, at the drop of a hat, people say, court mein leke jayenge, or we'll see you in court, or let me just call my lawyer, and that's what actually happens. And today's generation in India is bearing that brunt of pendencies of over 4 crore cases as we speak.
4
On top of that, 40,000 disputes are registered every single day in Indian courts. These are all, government research stats that I'm talking to you about. And for every dispute that does see the light of court, there are 7 that go completely unregistered because of complications, processes, procedures, costs, resources, etc. So where should these people go?
Right.
Today if there is a dispute, if I have a small business and I have to recover 1 lakh rupees, do I really have the bandwidth to go to court, wait for 7, 8, 10 years for a probable outcome in my favor, invest in, lawyers, resources, court fees today? Does that make sense? But does that mean that 1 lakh is not important enough?
Right.
Of course, for a small business it is.
Yes.
At the Supreme Court level it may not be. But how do you bridge that gap? There has to be alternatives to resolving disputes, and that is what ODR is. It is nothing but alternatives to the main litigation as a form of dispute resolution, which was existing since a while ago. It was called ADR. It is called ADR, which is alternative dispute resolution, which means using different resolution mechanisms to resolve disputes outside of court.
Correct.
And all of these are absolutely legal, because when we started as well, we were asked, or we sometimes still asked now, that is it even legal?
Right.
Does alternative dispute resolution means under the table settlement?
Right.
It absolutely doesn't. It is very, very legal. It finds acceptance in our laws as well, and it also finds acceptance in courtrooms, in government bodies, in private enterprises, and now even among citizens.
Okay.
So ODR is nothing but doing alternative dispute resolution by way of technology. So it is a part of ADR. It's all about using alternative mechanisms of resolution like arbitrations, mediations, negotiations, which don't involve court processes, and helping parties resolve disputes. We just do it in a few clicks. That is why ODR. But it is just that. When you break it down, it's nothing novel. It existed since before. We're just doing it in a more innovative, accessible, faster and seamless way.
Got it. So is there something like out of court settlement?
Yes, it is out of court settlement, a form of putting it. There are different mechanisms by which you can use these alternative dispute resolution methods, like arbitration, like mediation, like negotiation, and even settlements are a part of it as well.
Okay.
Yes, way of putting it, yes, it is that.
All right. Okay. So understanding that, give us an idea of what exactly Prozol 360 does. So you started this company some time back with other 2 founders,
Yes.
Bhavin Shah and Aman Sangvi. So how did the 3 of you all come together, and how did you get this baby started?
I absolutely love this question because it takes me back to how we met and how all of this came about. So Bhavan and I are college friends. We met in the first year of college itself. We then pursued chartered accountancy and law together.
Okay.
Aman and Bhavan know each other practically their whole lives, did schooling, college together. He then went to do insurance and management after that.
Right.
And it so happened that, all three of us in our experiences, Aman in the insurance sector and Bhavan and I in the CA and law field, when we were working, we came across disputes. And we came across disputes at multiple phases and stages. To give you an example, there was an MNC trying to do some business in India vis-a-vis a small trader trying to make some money in India. And a dispute was the beginning of the end for them. Whether it was that MNC or the small trader and everybody in between, whenever a dispute does arise, you end up going to your lawyer, you end up going to court, and that's sort of the beginning of the end, because it's just long drawn battles and uphill climb after that. That's when three of us, so we did not choose entrepreneurship, it's more like this problem chose us, in a way of saying, because we experienced all of this and we realized that there has to be a mechanism for parties to try to attempt resolutions without having to wait for years and years and decades, without having to go through procedural complexities, and without having to pass it on as a legacy issue instead of it just remaining a legal issue. And that's what inspired us to look at these solutions on how out-of-court mechanisms can be made available to businesses, to citizens in India. And that's how online dispute resolution came about for us. When we dug up more about it. In fact, the Gram Panchayats in India are one of the finest forms of ADR. Because those disputes are settled at that stage. They don't end up going to court. So what is that? That is ADR.
Okay.
But imagine giving access to that in a few clicks to businesses or citizens today.
Right.
That is what we're building with Resolve 360. That's how it started, with the vision of digital access to justice for all.
Okay, that's beautiful. So while I was doing my research, I came across this article where I think Bhavin Shah had contributed his thoughts, and he was talking about how MSME don't get their payments and they run out of money. This is a very big issue, right? And so you're saying a solution like this can help all these small enterprises to get justice?
That's absolutely correct. So that example that I spoke of earlier, that if I have to recover 1 lakh, what am I going to do?
Right.
There are now solutions that we have in place where these kind of MSMEs can actually use those mechanisms in a very effective and simple and a cost efficient way to recover that amount. It gives them an opportunity to even represent themselves even on the other side if it's a large corporate who they are selling to.
Right.
They now have an opportunity to actually come on equal footing and ensure that the dues that are meant to be given to them are given to them. So some of these are the solutions that we are working on. In fact, with technology, it's also possible to resolve disputes of a few thousands. Today, even if you have to recover 5,000 from somebody, you are definitely not going to go to court. You are also not going to do, in-person proceedings like arbitration and mediation and have a legal expert help you and all of that. But that does not mean you should let it go.
Correct.
So how do you resolve these kind of issues? Technology is the answer, because it brings it down to that level where with a few clicks and with automated solutions and technologies and machine learning, these kind of outcomes are now possible.
In fact, when you say about 1,000, 5,000, I know a few businessmen who've let go on lakhs of rupees because they cannot just go to court and get this thing, because it's going to be time consuming, it's going to take a lot of money, a lot of resources, and that. I think in that case, the solution is such a perfect thing for them, right?
Absolutely.
So, Namita, when you said about all this, is there any particular areas of issues that Resolve 360 solves, or is it that they can take up any case?
Sure. So if I have to talk for it from a platform perspective, that is agnostic. The platform can be used for any different type of cases.
Right.
In fact, it can be used, it is based on the UN CITRAL model law, which means that it can be used in over 165 jurisdictions across the world.
Okay.
If it comes to the kind of disputes that we are administering, the focus is definitely on small to mid-value disputes at the moment, because we find acceptance there, and especially after COVID, that was a direct plug-in, because for small to mid-value disputes, you're not going to expend all that money to meet in person, take it forward and all of that. And whilst ODR is still novel, acceptance is going to take some time. But for small to mid-value disputes, people are more forthcoming because no other solution actually exists for them. So we found our footing over there as the first step when it comes to small to mid-value commercial disputes. However, our platform has also been used for much larger disputes running into crores, and they've also been used for non-commercial disputes as well. So from a platform perspective, that way it's agnostic, but we restrict ourselves to civil disputes.
Alright, so it's just going to grow with time.
Absolutely, this is only step one in a very, very long journey ahead.
Okay, so having to know that about Resolve 360, is there any other ODR companies in India or any other competitors? And if there are, how are you different from them?
Sure, talking of competition, I think our biggest competitor is mindset.
Okay.
Because when it comes to, trying anything new or trying anything online for the first time, the resistance is tremendous.
Okay.
Can you imagine being the first person doing a UPI transaction?
Correct.
The resistance at that stage.
Correct.
Or taking a loan online via a fintech. The first person to do that, the resistance is tremendous at that stage. But once more and more people try, they understand the convenience and start moving towards ODR being optimal dispute resolution more than just online dispute resolution. So that's the goal. Today there are a handful of online dispute resolution companies in India that are doing some great work, and we definitely believe that a lot more work needs to be done.
Absolutely.
We already have a backlog of work done. If you do the maths of how many remain unresolved and unregistered anywhere, we definitely need an ecosystem to ensure that everybody tomorrow has the opportunity to resolve the disputes that they have with a few clicks.
4 crore cases, that
Yeah,
is
4
a
crore
huge
cases.
number. So, so you've been telling us about this industry, and you're telling us how this industry is coming up. Can you tell us a few obstacles that is present in this industry?
Yeah, I keep saying that we eat obstacles for breakfast, lunch and dinner. Have been doing that since we started Prizol.
Okay.
But that's what makes it interesting. But, as I told you, one of the issues that we face is awareness.
Right.
Because, as you also said that, you did not know of the pendencies or the issues or something like ODR existing.
Right.
And that is one problem that we continue to face.
Right.
Acceptance or just awareness
Correct.
about what we are doing. Oftentimes, people say, is this even legal? Now we
Correct.
have very good answers to deal with that. But just to give you an example, one of the ways in which you can resolve disputes out of the court is called mediation.
Okay.
So we had attended a seminar, and somebody next to us who was attending it as well said that, what are they talking about? I thought this was meditation. So people
Right.
don't know the term mediation
Yes.
exists, unfortunately. But as we say that, meditation is actually what to the mind, similarly mediation is to a dispute. It is one of the most mature way of dealing
Correct.
with disputes, but the awareness is low.
Right.
But that is changing. Even the courts, different judges, if you see, are coming out and talking about alternative mechanisms to settle. They're talking about using technology to resolve disputes. Even at the government level, many initiatives have been established. For example, the Mahar-era, SEBI, today
Right.
RBI. Today, if you look at, if you want to file an RTI application, all of them have online portals
Correct.
to resolve a dispute, and that is nothing but forms of ODR that you see. So that is increasing, but there's a long road ahead to ensure that everybody knows about online dispute resolution, that as a mechanism that they can use. So
You can access Resolve 360 resource page to learn about legal tech space.
awareness is one. Second is, how do you explain law to people with a tech background, and how do you explain technology to people with law background, because we are never taught, those subjects
Yeah,
together.
very much.
So that has been a journey to
Right.
bridge that gap. Over time, it has been that from three of us, we've learned a little bit of coding, and they've learned a lot about law. The tech team has learned a lot about law. But that's been an interesting journey. But just, these are some of the challenges that we continue to face.
I think when you spoke about mediation and meditation, while I was doing my research for the first time, I also was confused with the same thing.
Yes.
So-
On Google also, if you search for mediation, it asks you, did you mean meditation?
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, a brand awareness. I mean, awareness towards these things is so necessary, and especially
Absolutely.
now that you speak about it, and I understand the importance and how it can be used for so many people who are in grief today. It's such an important thing, but still lacks awareness among
Yes.
people, right? Namrata, first of all, I wanted to congratulate you because last year your company was funded for 81.3 million. Yay! So, what are your future plans? How do you plan to grow? Like, we already know that you're planning to take your platforms to the next level of cases, but what are your next development from here?
Sure. So, there is one thing that I, have different views on is about when a startup gets funded. I don't believe that's the real achievement or the goal why anybody starts a company or why three of us
Correct.
did, because, that's a means to an end.
Correct.
The objective is always for us to ensure better resolutions, to ensure better access, to ensure seamless processes on our platform. And for us, the fundraise has definitely helped accelerate the journey. It has helped us expand our digital infrastructure and our capital infrastructure as well, It has, we don't believe we would use that capital for operational reasons
Right.
to resolve disputes. That has been our goal since day one. We have never burnt, so to say, money on our operational activities, because if we do that, we'll have to shut shop one day when funding dries up. But the funding has helped us accelerate our plans. And of course, as I told you, this is just step one in a very, very long journey. Today, we have solutions for a few types of disputes. But a lot of these kind of disputes can actually be automated and can actually use the help of technology. So, I say that disputes are typically of 3 E's. Either they are about emotion, they are about ego, or they are about economics. When it comes to ego and emotion, maybe it can't be automated, but when it comes to economics, and many disputes are about economics, they are about a number, a lot of that can actually be automated to a large extent, especially micro and small value disputes. So to build solutions for these kind of disputes is what lies ahead for us, along with, of course, expanding into larger and different types of disputes as well.
Got it. Okay. All right. So, Namita, you've told us about how the solution is, and we've understood that it can help so many of us right now. But what I also see that it's not just help for people, but it's also helping the country develop, right? And
Absolutely.
it's helping the country grow to a next level. So, Namita, on that part, if these people want to get in touch with you, or they want to seek solution from Resolve 360, how can they?
Oh, it's very simple. If you want to log on to the website, you want to call, you want to WhatsApp, you want to email, you want to drop a recorded message, whatever you want to do, we have channels for each of those. You want to reach out on LinkedIn, you want to reach out on Twitter. We're always available, always accessible.
Okay.
And any platform can be used. Of course, you can reach out to me or directly go on the website and, talk to one of our experts. All of those options are absolutely possible.
Okay. Okay, so till now we've understood what Resolve 360 is and how you've come up with this solution. Now we want to dive a little deeper into your life, how your journey has been. Okay, so with that, my first question to you is, you were featured among the top 60 women transforming India.
Yeah.
Tell us how you felt and what are your next plans?
So, the feeling of that was, of course, I felt ecstatic, not particularly for the reason that I was featured there, but for the reason that legal tech got acceptance.
Right.
Because through these years I filled a lot of these forms for incubations, grants, etc. And I always had to submit the category as others.
Right.
Because legal tech did not exist as a category. But today that has changed.
Yes.
Today legal tech also has its independent category, and I think that the best feeling is for ensuring that today that is also accepted, as norm, just like agri-tech or just like fintech or ed-tech. Today there also legal tech that is on the table. So that has been a good feeling for sure. And the goal is just that, how we can make dispute resolution the strength of India instead of it being one of the weakest points of India. Today in ease of doing business also, India does not rank great.
Right.
And one of the reasons for that is contract enforcement, where we rank poor.
Okay.
How can we change that in the next 5 years, and how can Presolve contribute to changing that? I think that is the goal.
Correct. So when you say that contract running is poor, are you saying that acceptance of all the contract in legal form is that?
No, not exactly that, but firstly, agreements are not in place. Secondly, even if they are, there's no proper way of enforcing it. That is also what causes more and more disputes. And when a dispute does arise, what happens after that?
Right.
These are some of the issues, because the justice delivery machinery is so overburdened,
Right.
and there are so many challenges that there's no way of making somebody accountable if they're not doing what they contracted to do, what they're doing. For example, how do you change these things? How do you bring accountability into relationships? How do you make justice delivery truly accessible and affordable?
So Namita, in different parts of India, women are trying to execute new things, big, small, but there are so many women who are trying to come up with different solutions. And so some of them do have a support system, some of them don't. But many of them look up to women like you and get their inspiration. So if today you could give them a word of advice, what would it be?
I think there are phenomenal women out there who are truly inspirational. And one thing that I know, that the time for entrepreneurs, and especially the time for women entrepreneurs in India, has definitely arrived. As you say that, it's still nascent. Today there are only about, even to the Indian GDP, only 18% women contribute.
Correct.
To the Indian GDP, but that's far higher than a single digit number, which was the case a few years ago.
True.
And women are taking that step forward. But what I've also found is that there is an entire ecosystem and community out there that's helping any woman who decides to take the first step. I myself have been part of different foundations and different incubations that are specifically catering to women into entrepreneurship, and they're fabulous. I think, in fact, at times Bhavana and Aman themselves have said that, sometimes I wish I was a woman because I could attend that. So there are, advantages to that as well. But, the one thing that I would say is take that leap of faith. There's nothing that stops you except your mindset. It's your mindset that's either a cage or an open sky. So how do you want to treat it? And I did not know myself, or three of us also did not know how this journey would be when we took the step one. But sometimes all you need to focus on is that first step, and then a road appears. And another thing that I've learned along my journey is, don't be afraid of failing. Especially for me, I came from an academically, good background in terms of my academic scores. And then when I plunged into entrepreneurship, I realized what failure meant, very up and close. And now I've come to a stage where if I don't fail every week or something doesn't go terribly wrong, I feel that I'm not doing anything new. So it is really, really important to fail, but to fail forward. One of our mentors had told us that, saying that if you're not failing, then you're really not experimenting. Then what are you building? So it is important to fail. Don't be afraid of it. Be afraid of not failing in your life, because then you never really tried anything, and just take that leap of faith. There's a whole community out there waiting to embrace you and help you through that entire journey. So go ahead and just do it.
Beautiful. So while you were talking about your academy, I have to say this, that you are a student of GLC, Government Law College, and I think listening to that, a lot of GLC students will have big hopes to gain. You are also a gold medalist in CA.
Yeah.
So congratulations, and you have had.
I don't really think that has too much value other than the discipline at that stage, or that stays with you forever. But yeah.
Absolutely, they all help to build you to what you are today, right? Okay, and one more thing that you had mentioned, that you were a part of a lot of women foundations.
Yeah.
First thing, that yes, I think all the women in our country today, I can say proudly that our country is actually doing women to develop, to grow, to get education. Yes, I do understand there are certain areas which still needs little work, but it is still growing, right? Our country is trying to come up and help women, and it is beautiful to see that, right? So talking about the foundations that you were a part of, Women Entrepreneurship and Empowerment.
Yeah.
You were a part of STEP, that is Shakti, the Empathy Project, AFI and Agni. Can you tell us a little bit about your contribution that side?
So actually they have contributed to Prizolve's journey in a way, because these are all different incubations and programs. Most of these are by Niti Aayog and different arms of the government that actually train on how entrepreneurs can build and scale their startups.
Right.
So in fact, one of the programs from this, the We Foundation one, had professors from Harvard and implementing the course on entrepreneurship that's done at Harvard in India for women entrepreneurs free of cost. So that is the value add that these kind of incubations bring. What they also do is they teach you how to pitch. They also expose you to different government schemes, and then based on that you get different grants from the government that are equity and debt free, and that gives you the bandwidth to actually go ahead and progress and be confident and start building out more and scaling out more on what you want to do. So that has been their contribution, and of course how much of a gratitude I express is less for these. So I do try and ensure whenever I do get a chance, I go back and share my learnings, especially from a legal side of things, to all the other new incoming batches that are there. And I do believe that it's my duty to ensure the next generation of women entrepreneurs don't face some of the challenges that we did.
So you mentioned that you go back to teaching and coaching people that you can, right? And while I was going through your profile, I found out that you do have a passion for teaching and guiding people. So tell us a little bit about that passion. How did you develop that, and what are you planning to do with it?
Oh, actually, I think I absolutely enjoy sharing what I've learned. I wouldn't call it teaching. I don't think I've elevated to that stage. But if I learn something, I think the best way also of relearning what you've learned or testing what you've learned is sharing it and explaining it to somebody else. And I think that began when I was studying for CA, where I did have the opportunity to teach a lot of my friends what was taught in class while studying CA. And I think that's when that bug of explaining what I know to others and demystifying or simplifying it caught on to me. and whenever I do get a chance, I love doing that as well, from all my learnings in Resolve 360 and also in the entire legal ecosystem, or what I've learned from all of these different incubations. So that's just a passion that I always want to continue growing.
Beautiful. Okay, so where I've said that I've been stalking your profile and trying to learn a lot about you, I came across this very interesting post that you had shared on your LinkedIn, and I want to talk about that. So it said a few weeks back, I remember it was one of your LinkedIn posts, it spoke about freedom actually, and it said that freedom is a word that almost everyone takes it differently, and it's constantly changing with stages of life. Can you share your thoughts and how important do you think freedom is?
You know, that's actually a very, very interesting question, because when I remember writing this, and I remember an incident that had happened. I was actually, watching Netflix, and I saw this trailer of one of the Spider-Man series movie, and I remembered that quote which said that, with great power comes great responsibility. And freedom when I was younger meant getting half an hour to squeeze in a TV time. Today, freedom for me means ensuring when I get that extra half an hour, I spend it on something productive or towards my goal, other than, of course, unwinding, never taking that away. But, that's the idea, that what freedom means changes even individually as we grow or as we have newer experiences, and even from person to person. And I think the biggest thing about freedom is, what's in your mind. And I think that is one of the most important aspects of living your life, freeing yourself either from societal norms or from your own limiting thoughts, or from fear of something, and just ensuring that those evaporate as you progress in life is true freedom. And I believe that that is something that everyone needs to figure out on their own, but it's a journey that everyone must take to ensure that the freedom that you think is freedom, you live a life like that. For some, freedom may be financial freedom, for some freedom may be something else. So whatever it is, you define your own freedom, but ensure that you do it. Otherwise, only what the world talks about as freedom, you'll have to just take their definition, which wouldn't probably be something that would be fit for you.
Absolutely. So I have to say this before I go to the next question. Namita's LinkedIn profile is worth stalking. I have spent hours, and not because I had to, but just because I couldn't tune out of it. I personally think that her thoughts should have, there should be a book on it, and it should be a thought for every day. They're intriguing, they're mind-opening, and the most important thing, it challenges the status quo. Just have a look at how she's put her posts out there.
No, you're just too kind. I do enjoy writing, and I do enjoy, ensuring that what I'm learning is spread to as many people as I can. So again, a passion that I want to keep alive, and that's how actually Empowering Minds also started, where I love reading, and I do end up reading quite a bit, and also what life and Resolve have taught me, that all goes into all of these snippets that I write and share, but definitely going to work on a book idea.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
I honestly feel that I can do that. I can have one of your posts read every day.
You're just being too kind.
No,
but
absolutely not. Talking of that, I'm going to talk about another post that you've written, and this will tell everybody how right I am about your post. So there's another post that you had. It spoke about the auspicious river Ganga, who everyone worships. She flows through her highs and lows, and she ends in Bay of Bengal. But the real question that you had put up over there is that after flowing through her highs and lows, does she really end her flow, or does she become a big Bay of Bengal herself? So such an intriguing thought. My God, I never thought about Ganga as a river in that sense. So tell us, Namita, what was going through your mind when you came up with something like this?
So, it was actually that, sometimes, actually somebody did ask me that, why are you working so hard on building, eventually life ends and everything ends, and I mean, it was just one of those days and one of those conversations, but that's what got me thinking, that I know my life is going to end one day. The point is, that doesn't mean that the impact that I can do in this lifetime needs to end. Because we all may be individuals, but we are just a small part of a much larger universe, and it is our duty as people to contribute to making the world better. And I do believe that if somebody asks me what's my life's dream or purpose, it is to make the world better than what it was. And I just don't say it because it sounds good. I truly believe in that because that's something that stays on forever, and you move on to a different life, or you move on, but it changes for people who then continue after you. And my entire life is an attempt to try and change it for the better. I don't know what the future holds, but I know that I definitely don't want to look back and think that I did not try my best. So that's what made me think of this and put it, that just because a river ends doesn't mean the Ganga is any less powerful just because it then moves into Bay of Bengal. So it's not that it ends, it probably just becomes the Bay of Bengal. So that's how that came about.
Wow, that is such a beautiful thought, Namita. So can I also tell you that when I meet entrepreneurs who actually want to make a change in the world, is such a pleasant feeling. Like, I know a lot of people have their own goals, a lot of people have their own ways to look at things, but very few give their best also to make sure that they make this world a better place. And we live in this world, right? And this world, as we see, it is getting deteriorated. And if brilliant minds like you and everybody work towards making this place a better place, then nothing like it.
But I don't think that is only reserved for entrepreneurs.
Absolutely.
It's also everybody in whatever they're doing in their lives, contribute to that.
All right. So with that, one last post that I'm going to talk about from LinkedIn. It's actually from one of my favorite poetry as well. It is from Stopping by the Woods on a Snowy Evening by Robert Frost. So it was introduced to me by one of my very good friend, and it is also one of my favorite lines, which says, "Miles to go before I sleep." So Namita, tell us about, what were you thinking when you were writing this? What are those miles that you want to cover?
There are too many to put in words, but if I already touched upon some of the things that we want to do at Resolve 360. On a personal front, of course, the idea is to make myself better and more equipped to do that for Resolve 360, because if I feel that if I don't work on myself, how am I going to accomplish what I want to in the organization as well? So how do I always ensure that I keep learning and upskilling is something that I want to focus on in the coming year, as well, as to how do I learn something new, or how do I think differently, or how do I continue challenging the status quo. So ensuring that I dedicatedly do that.
Wow. Okay. So we've understood how your journey has been as a woman entrepreneur. Now we want to get an understanding about your entrepreneurship journey. Okay. So a few of my questions are going to be based on that now. So you've been employed with Ernst & Young as your first company, and then you had another one too.
Yeah.
And then finally, when you said the solution came to you, and you didn't go to the solution, right?
The problem came to us.
Sorry, the problem came to you, and then you built up the solution, and you named it Resolve 360. So tell us, how did you think about infusing technology and legal, and how did you begin with this entrepreneurship journey with legal and tech?
So actually, when we were delving onto the problem, we started analyzing what happens right at the grassroots level in India to international diplomacy. And alternative dispute resolution actually finds its footing in international diplomacy, where on the front of it we probably see wars and things like that. Behind there are these diplomats who are trying to work out the solution to end it. That's where ADR finds its origin, so to say, as well. So when we realized that, we thought about, really, can court systems be that effective? Of course, they are doing a great job, but they also have to operate in a country that is the world's most litigious country, and deal with the pendencies and backlogs as well that is already inherited by the entire judicial machinery. So we had to look at solutions that were outside of the court machinery. That's how ADR came about. And in today's world, when we actually started with the three of us going to different courts and talking to the litigants and resolving the disputes by ourselves, by way of just conversing and trying to work out a settlement. And then we realized that if three of us continue to do that, some succeed, some fail, obviously, but we only have those many hours in a day.
Yes.
Even if we build a team, everybody only has those many hours in a day. How many people we'll actually require an entire army of people just to talk to people and try and resolve it. But technology can make that more accessible and more scalable. And the only way today that the whole world is connected is via technology. Or if we were, for example, to trade in cash instead of doing net banking, you can imagine how many transactions would have never happened.
Absolutely.
Today that happens because of the power of technology, and that's when we realize that even in dispute resolution, tech has to be infused to make it affordable, to make it accessible, and to make it scalable as well. So that's how ODR came about for us.
So Namita, when you were doing this research, when you were thinking of, I'm bringing this up, were there times where you thought that, okay, this is a dead end, there is nothing that I can do more than this? Or you thought of giving up, but yet next day morning you were like, no, this is something that I can do?
Far too many times.
Really?
That's the honest answer. Far too many times. We started in 2017. We were doing some groundwork in 2016. We incorporated in mid of 2017. Until COVID happened, we didn't know where this was going. After COVID happened, more doors started opening out of desperation. Like, we knew the time for ODR would come, we just didn't think it would accelerate. So what happened that time was that we were there prepared at the right place when that happened. And it accelerated from there, and now we know, okay, that these are things we can do, these are things we need to work on, and these are things that we can do in the mid and the long term. But that has been a journey of discovery. But there have been many such times where we just thought we don't know what, but then there would be that one thing that would go right with a million things going wrong that would make us come back next day. And the biggest thing of that one thing going right was the few cases that we did settle earlier on. Just seeing the reaction of those disputing parties who could settle it.
Correct.
I think that's what made us come back again and again every day, because for us it was one dispute, for them it was the dispute that was hampering their next phase of life.
Absolutely.
And when you know that you can help somebody resolve their dispute, it is one of the most satisfying feelings that helped us keep coming back.
Absolutely.
Building this.
So it's like your 2 years of homework, because you started in 2007.
4 years.
4 years.
Yeah.
And then
But-
COVID literally struck in 2019 and 20.
Yeah.
So all that helped you when COVID came
Yeah.
in picture. And 4 years is still a very big time, right?
Doesn't stop now though. I mean, it's still the same. It's just that the definition of hustle changes, but yeah, can't stop that.
Yes, absolutely. So this being aligned to your goal is something that when you're hustling, when you're doing so many things, you tend to not think about it, right? You tend to get deviated from it sometimes. So did that happen to you, or did you always have it in your mind? And if you did, how did you manage to keep it in your mind all the time?
But I think, in fact, what makes you hustle is your vision or your goal.
Correct.
So I think of it that way, that because I know, the direction that I want to head in, that helps me do all of those things today that I do.
Right.
I mean, it is, ultimately what I want to achieve is what helps inspire and motivate, because I believe as motivation is absolutely an overrated word. Like, when I look at somebody else and feel that I should do it, it won't last for a very long time. Then again, there'll be phases of demotivation. But when you look at your vision and you look at moving towards it, I think, that is what makes you come back to it. And hustling doesn't mean you'll get it right. It just means
Absolutely.
you'll get it wrong a million times and then it may work.
Yeah.
How do you still keep your mindset, still positive when you're doing all of these things? But that's where your vision helps.
And I think what people should derive out of their failures, it's just that a little more learning, right? What you can
Absolutely.
learn from it.
Absolutely, I think failing is very important, failing forward.
Great. Okay. So while taking this step, so you moved from being an employee to being an entrepreneur. So while becoming an entrepreneur, a lot of people think about all the risks that they have, because there are so many responsibilities and everybody has different kind of responsibilities. I'm sure you also had your part of responsibilities. So how did you manage that, and how did you think that, okay, I'm going to manage it and let me take up this risk?
I think, what helps is you decide what's that risk for you.
Right.
For me, the risk would be having an idea and never working on it. I mean, that's a risk that was not acceptable vis-a-vis any other risk that I faced. So I just chose the risk that I wanted to work on.
Nice. Okay, let's talk a little bit about your support system. Tell us about your support system. Who helped you through this? Who encouraged you to take this step?
So, to be very honest, what is very underrated in entrepreneurship is how hard and lonely it is.
Right.
Everyone sees that, okay, startups, and you get a lot of funding and then you get a lot of money, and they see all of these things, but it's under 1% of startups that actually make it beyond 3 years.
Yes.
and a much lower number that actually even get funded and scale it and realize what they set out to do. It is the single hardest thing that I've done in my life. It is a hard and lonely journey, but what helps it being worth it other than the outcome, for me it was definitely Bhavana Naman as well. Like I think I really lucked out when it comes to co-founders, and I'm forever grateful for that, because I knew that it was hard and lonely, but it was hard and lonely and three of us were doing it together. So that was one, and just the bond, was something that we definitely leveraged upon in all the years where it was still questioning itself. Of course, family and friends also have their own role to play, but I think when you're in it, only somebody else who's in it really understands what it's like, and you still have to put up a brave face and go back home, try and answer questions to why did you leave a secure job, and why did you do this, and where are you headed in life, and those kind of aspects. But only somebody who does do it understands the boat you're sailing in a way. But for me, that was definitely Bhavana Naman, and family and friends also have their role to play as well. And of course, the other entrepreneurs that I spoke to along the way. Like maybe it was just a conversation, maybe it's some of the relations that I have even today with different entrepreneurs. You realize that there's an entire world out there of people going through the same challenges you're going through, and that gives solace in a way. Saying that we'll figure it out.
That is so nice, and it is true. When you're in this journey and you know that you have your co-founders and they have your back, you have their back, the journey becomes much more easier.
Absolutely. In fact, the number one reason for startups to fail is not drying out of funds, it is co-founder conflicts.
Absolutely, absolutely. One of the biggest reasons, I would say. With that, Namita, my last question. Which are those social media platforms that you're most active on?
It would be LinkedIn and Instagram.
You can follow Namita Shah on LinkedIn.
Alright, so Namita, with that, we come to the end of the first part of the session. Now comes the second part, which is the rapid fire round.
Okay.
Alright,
Let's fire it up.
Great. Before we start the rapid fire round, can we have the start music, please? Alright, okay. So Namita, my first question. What would you prefer? Being a person who's right or being kind?
Being kind, always.
What is your general approach towards things? A faster solution or a slow, steady approach?
A steady, fast solution.
Do you like things planned or spontaneous?
Some things definitely planned and some things definitely spontaneous, but a larger plan is something that's important, but living life spontaneously, definitely.
Alright. What do you think is more real? 100 failures and one success, or 100 success and one failure?
100 failures and one success.
One brand that you're crazy about?
Resolve 360.
Okay. One favorite food joint?
Favorite food joint? K. Rustam ice cream.
Okay. One person you would like to give credit to apart from your co-founders. We know that you're already grateful to them. So apart from your co-founders, if you could give credit to somebody.
Okay, so that would be two. One would be my father.
Alright.
Second would definitely be the entire Prisol team.
Oh, that's beautiful. So you have to name these apps as per usage of yours. Snapchat, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook.
Okay, so I don't use Snapchat at all. I use Facebook for birthday reminders. LinkedIn I definitely use and I'm active on. And YouTube I use to learn and for entertainment.
Alright, okay. What is your favorite place in Mumbai?
Prisol 360 office.
Okay, so last question for the rapid fire. What do you think are the top 3 qualities an entrepreneur should have?
Accepting failures, persisting, and being ethical, and being a person with integrity.
Beautiful. Okay.
Yeah.
So with that, Namita, we come to an end. Thank you so much for answering all my questions. It was a pleasure to hear some great words from you. It's actually a very nice feeling when you get to meet an entrepreneur like you who have their vision so clean and clear and they know what they're doing, right? So thank you so much. It was a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, and thank you for all these questions that made me reflect on a lot of things, and for having me on Jumpstart Mumbai edition. And I hope I could add value and everybody could learn something, and I would love to hear from everybody as well. Please reach out on the details that have been shared. and I look forward to interacting with everybody.
Namita, on behalf of everybody, behalf of my team, behalf of everybody who's watching, we wish you all the very best with Resolve
you.
360. All that you plan, we really hope that you can come through them and get this platform for us, because all of us need it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Janta, for watching our session today. आज का हमारा सेशन was full of JASPA and some amazing thoughts. I hope आपको आज का हमारा सेशन काफ़ी दिलचस्प लगा हो. And guys, if you want to subscribe to Daily Dose of JASPA, follow Namita on her LinkedIn. She has some great posts and thoughts over there. हम आपके लिए और भी ऐसे inspiring leaders and entrepreneurs की बातें लाते रहेंगे. We know the path to success and dreams are full of stones and thorns. We will fail, we will have setbacks, but we will not give up. At least not today. हम 10 बार गिरेंगे, but हम 10 बार जीतेंगे भी. बस उठकर चलना है. All the very best. आप अपनी feelings और experience हमारे साथ share करते रहिए comments पे. We'll be back soon. Till then, smile and love your journey. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share. My name is Rashika from India. Namaste. Wait, are you leaving already? Check out the next episode's trailer right here.